Well, don't think what's happening there can't happen here. Senator Judd Gregg says, think again. Senator, you're convinced the makings are there. Why?
Excuse me?
You think the makings of a Greek-type event are here as well. Why?
Well, because we're running up a debt we can't afford, and a lot of it is actually a reflection of our obligations to health care costs and pension costs for our senior citizens, especially as the baby boom generation retires. We've got a $77 trillion unfunded liability, $77 trillion. And we know the debt's going to double in 5 years, it's going to triple in 10 years. We know that our debt as a ratio of GDP is going to go to past 60% this year, towards 80, 90% within 5 to 7 years. Those are the numbers that Greece is looking at. I mean, basically, you're looking at a debt structure which amounts to junk bond status for all intents and purposes, because there'll be a big question as to how we pay it back, whether we'll have to inflate our currency to pay it back, or whether we'll have to radically increase our tax burden, both of which will significantly affect our productivity as a country and will reduce the standard of living of our children.
But Senator,
it's all being done by us, by the way, right now.
No, I understand, sir, but the prescription here for dealing with a lot of these escalating costs is to hike taxes on largely the rich, although that could expand to a larger group.
Yeah.
So not the kind of hit that workers in Greece feel that is disproportionately hitting them. What is the right prescription?
It's a fantasy, Neil, to think that you can get there by just raising taxes on the wealthy. The simple fact is that if you look at the numbers, historically, since the end of World War II, our tax revenues have been about 18% of GDP. Our spending has been about 20% of GDP. This is federal income, federal taxes, federal expenditures. Under the president's own budget, he has taxes going to 20% of GDP. Very significant increase over our historical norm. But he has spending going to 26 or 27% of GDP, and that does not even include the health care bill, which adds $2.6 trillion of new spending. So the practical matter is that this is a spending issue. We either get under control spending, we stop spending at the rate we're spending, or else we're not going to be able to pass on to our kids a stronger country. We're going to pass on to them a country which has many of the problems which you're seeing today in Greece.
All right, so let's say we had to tell the American people that, or a lot of people, public workers or union members, who treasure those benefits, like to be shielded from a lot of the pain, have a White House and a Congress that has been very supportive of shielding them from that pain. How would it go down here if they had to face the same music that a lot of these Greek workers are being told to face?
Well, I don't think it would go down the way it's going in Greece, to be very honest with you. I think the American people are much more responsible. More importantly, I don't think one generation in the United States wants to do this to the next generation. My generation, the baby boom generation, is the problem. We're going to have to adjust our benefit structure, and we're going to have to face up to that fact. And the sooner we do it, the less painful it'll be. There are things we can do today, for example, to straighten out the Social Security system and make it solvent for the next 75 years. There are things we can do today in the healthcare arena, which haven't been done and weren't done under the healthcare bill, which will deliver a better healthcare system at a lower cost, or a more reasonable cost, a more affordable cost, not a lower cost. Those decisions, if they're made today, will be phased in and will be much more tolerable than if we wait until we go off the cliff and we find that people aren't buying our debt, or that our debt's been downgraded, or that we have to inflate our money supply to pay off our debt.
Yeah, but I understand all that, but I got to tell you, Senator, I mean, a lot of these changes and a lot of these so-called onerous adjustments that are being placed on Greek public workers, to the point, when you really look at the details, they're not that onerous. I mean, it's not as if they're having their pensions taken away, they're being frozen. And it's not as if those pensions still don't guarantee whatever income you had in your final year work is essentially going to be your annual pension for the rest of your life. While you will not be able to retire anymore at 53, you will at 55. So, I mean, now I'm oversimplifying some of the other onerous things they're doing there, like hiking sales and tobacco and alcohol taxes. But by and large, I mean, if they're rioting with these kind of adjustments, man, what would we do?
Well, I don't think we do that. And we don't have a Greek-type system here, fortunately, or, for that matter, a French-type system. Although where basically you retire at 55 at essentially your salary. So you're actually working less years to earn a pension than is expected that your life expectancy will be receiving that pension. That doesn't work. You know, the numbers just don't work under that. We don't have that system here yet, which is good. But unfortunately, we're moving down that road. As you watch
a lot
this
of them do,
government,
and a lot of them have not had that pension stuff adjusted. Some new workers are, but a lot of their old stuff, particularly in unions, public and private, are very much in place. I don't think that would go down easy, Senator.
No, it won't, but it's going to have to be adjusted, and California is going to be the case number one. I mean, California is our Greece. They are insolvent as a state. They have a very huge spending problem, and they have a massive pension overhang from years of excess. And we're going to have to see how California works through this, but I suspect, and I certainly hope, that California is going to have to make some tough decisions, and that they do it on the spending side of the ledger. Certainly the American taxpayer should not go in and bail out California.
All right, Senator, thank you very, very much. We'll keep an eye on this.